Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for my rational perspective on Chelsea 0, Porto 1, but Chelsea go through to the Champions League semi-finals for the first time in 7 years. Yes, the last minute was a little bit tense after Mehdi Taremi decided to score one of the best goals of the season in the Champions League, and it got a little bit tense there, but Chelsea through to the last four. It was a pretty forgettable game. It wasn't really enjoyable. I don't know how I'm going to fit 10 minutes worth of discussion in this review for you guys, because there wasn't much to speak about. I think just tactically, Chelsea and Tuchel's approach, we were sort of discussing in my preview yesterday, what was his approach going to be tonight offensively, but also defensively, not being that reactive. Chelsea were quite reactive in the game, not in a bad way, just in the sense that we weren't going out there and trying to score a goal early. We weren't trying to really take the game to Porto and finish it early. It was a case of Chelsea just defensively being immaculate and very much shutting the game down. It was, a better lockdown than we've seen in the country recently. Chelsea under Tuchel defensively have just got it spot on. And I think what Tuchel realises, and I think what's becoming more evident, especially in the Champions League, and it's been a case, when Chelsea won it in 2012 as well, you don't have to be the best team all round to win the Champions League. It's getting those fine margins right. It's being tactically astute. It's knowing when to prioritise moments in games to attack. And I think Chelsea knew with that 2-goal advantage, it was really asking Porto to do a lot more, despite the fact they had Sergio Oliveira back in the first team. I actually don't think, despite an amazing end offensively for them with Taremi's goal, I don't think Porto did themselves any justice tonight. I mean, they seem to spend more time on the floor and sort of protesting with the referee and also kicking Christian Pulisic rather than actually going at Chelsea. I expected a lot more, and I think Tuchel, the way he set up defensively tonight and the way the team were shaped to really just try and defend their goal, I think, he expected a lot more from Porto, which didn't come. But, for Chelsea, that was absolutely fine. Team selection-wise, we knew Kovacic was out. I didn't say that in my preview, but that was recorded before last night when we got the news that Kova was likely to be out. So we knew then that Kante and Georgie were going to be the midfield two for tonight's game. Thiago Silva, Christensen are not making the squad, even though he did travel, and I think he did train, but just not fit enough to start. So Thiago Silva taking his place, replacing Kurt Zouma. Obviously, you can't really look offensively for many great performers. I think Christian Pulisic may just be my man of the match, not because of anything creatively he did. He probably should have scored a couple goals tonight. He had two great chances, one that he completely scuffed, and the other one very late on with a great ball through from Hakim Ziyech that I think he should have just lifted over the keeper. But I think that overall Chelsea and Pulisic, for instance, was such a great player to use. He got fouled so many times, and that's always a concern with his injury issues. But in a game of this nature where Chelsea just had to keep running the clock down, in a sense, players like Pulisic, who can attract fouls so brilliantly, are so valuable in games like this. You think back to Eden Hazard's time at Chelsea. He was brilliant at that. I just hope for Pulisic's sake he can bulk up a little bit so he can withstand some of those fouls, because I really hope it doesn't knock him back physically and of course, fitness-wise for Saturday's game against Man City. But I felt Pulisic did his job wonderfully to break the press, to drive the ball forward, to relieve some pressure from the defenders who done so well. I thought, in particular, Thiago Silva and Rudiger absolutely dominated their area tonight. Thiago Silva, of course, having that difficult afternoon last time against West Brom, but he was back to his pedigree. The class of Thiago Silva shone through, and I felt both him and Rudiger really led that back three alongside with Dave, but I felt Reece James was just wonderful once again. Reece James just immaculate, physically. No one's messing with Reece James, and there does seem to be a little bit more fight to this team and sort of ability to withstand and sort of confront the antics of Porto tonight. Porto very early on were throwing themselves to the ground trying to get our players booked. It didn't actually work in the end. More of their players got booked rather than any of our players getting booked tonight. I don't think any Chelsea players got booked tonight. I think wrongly. I think the ref was actually terrible from minute one. I think he should have been giving us more fouls, and I think also Porto probably should have had some more fouls in the game. I don't think he managed and officiated the game well at all. It's just about that managing thing where I think that with him not penalising and especially giving yellows early on to Porto players when they were going in at players like Jorginho, but also Christian Pulisic in particular, you just allow that sort of mentality of Porto to keep kicking our players because they know they're not getting penalised for it. So I don't think the referee had a good game tonight, but in the end it didn't matter. Chelsea got through, and I think psychologically Chelsea won the battle on that front, like they did so dominantly against, of course, Atletico Madrid in the previous tie. So all round, I think on all fronts today, whether it was tactical, whether it was defensively, whether it was one-on-one battles, we really shut down Sergio Oliveira. I know he's coming back from maybe a thigh injury or something like that, a muscle injury that made him a doubt for tonight. But, I think for him to be subbed off late on, didn't really have an impact in the game. Of course, Taremi scores a spectacular overhead kick, and he was the only other player that got close to scoring before that spectacular finish right at the end in added time with the header that was calmly saved by Edouard Mendy. Something I do want to mention, I thought Jorginho was one of Chelsea's better players tonight as well. I think I was a little bit concerned in the opening moments because for us looking to counter on Porto, I just worried with them pressing and using their energy to press our midfield too. Kante was, I think, good in the defensive and the energy part of his game. Passing wise wasn't as good. I think you could see the rust in his game after not playing for a few weeks, and that's something that hopefully can be soothed as he plays a little bit more. I felt there were a few times he could have executed passes a lot better to help Chelsea in attack. I felt sort of all round everything else was there from N'Golo Kante that you'd want, and you're more looking at his defensive side, his intercepting, which is a spot on tonight. It was just more the passing side of his game, which in the end became a little bit irrelevant to Chelsea because they were being so defensive, trying to just keep Porto out, trying to run the clock down, which they did so efficiently. But Jorginho attracting fouls, I think in an opposition who are looking to press him, you're concerned that that's the type of game that could undo Jorginho mobility wise and just being done in transition, but that did not happen tonight. I felt he really dictated play in the first half. I think he really stood up to the physical challenge and attracted fouls because once again, the amount of times Chelsea players smartly won fouls tonight to just run that clock down whenever they could, I think got us over the line in the end. So other than that, there isn't tons to speak about, guys. I think a lot of Chelsea content creators will be struggling to film much in terms of the game because the one highlight is the Taremi overhead kick, which was spectacular. Mendy had absolutely no chance, and if you're going to concede to a spectacular kick, also concede that goal very late in the game when basically Porto had no time left to do anything else. So in the end, Chelsea get through. It's now tomorrow night we'll focus on Liverpool and Real Madrid, one of the two. Real Madrid, of course, have the advantage at the moment. I personally would like to play Real Madrid because we never play Real Madrid. In terms of Champions League knockout ties, I don't think we faced them ever in the Champions League. Of course, there is some historic games against them in the Cup Winners' Cup, and you have to go back to 1971. I think we faced them. But in terms of the modern era of Chelsea under Abramovich, we've never faced them, I don't think, other than some pre-season friendly. So I think it'd be exciting to face Real Madrid. Liverpool would be a real throwback fixture. You'd think back to mid-2000s semi-finals in the Champions League, all those historic games with Mourinho and Benitez. But we'll have to wait and see. It's a big landmark psychologically tonight. I think the game was quite underwhelming. It wasn't that memorable, but I think it can sort of undersell how big this win is once again. I spoke after Atletico Madrid about how important it was for Chelsea to get through to the quarterfinals this year. To win 2 ties in the Champions League, I think is absolutely massive, not only for this current squad, not only for people buying into Thomas Tuchel's vision early on, but also for the club. Just the club can now say, for the first time in 7 years, they've got to the last 4. They're in the last 4 of Europe's elite competition. And to have that, I think, is something to bolster the confidence of the club moving forward. I just think having that on your resume, because Chelsea haven't been able to say that for such a long time, being able to compete in this competition, being able to feel confident in this competition. And once you get into the semi-final, as we know, we have to see what happens. And you have to have confidence and belief in this side that they could do something marvellous, get to a Champions League final for the 3rd time in our history, and potentially do it all over again. We'll have to wait and see on that front. Man City on Saturday, another really, really, really big game. Once again, I think just in terms of rotation, in terms of players coming back in, I felt there were really good performances tonight. Great to see Kante getting back to some levels of fitness, just getting on the pitch again. I felt Jorginho has really put that awful West Brom performance behind him now, and he's getting back to the levels he showed pre the international break, which is good. Kovacic, let's hope that injury isn't too bad as well. We've got no suspensions going into the Champions League semi-final. Both Ziyech and, of course, Kova missed out on that tonight, so that's a real positive. Pulisic, Havertz, Mount just weren't really able to have the same dominance they had on Saturday, but I'd still like to see that front three play against Man City if Chelsea can be a little bit more offensive in that game and won't feel as sort of the need to be as defensive. So we'll have to wait and see on that front. Give me your man of the match, give me your thoughts, give me your excitement, give me a like as well on this video. Let's try and get to 300 likes on this video with Chelsea under Thomas Tuchel getting to the Champions League semi-final for the first time in 7 years. Thank you guys for watching. Hit that subscribe button and I'll see you again.